We are the last trip. I think we might have been the biggest trip as well, but just thought I'd take you through a little bit of what we did and then some reflections at the end. So that is our team that were there, and that's our transport that we had for the week, which, if you look at it there, it looks fine. But if you saw some of the roads that we were driving over, a tractor would have been more appropriate. So basically take you through some of our days. We spent every morning that we were there on the building site. You can see different activities there that were going on, from digging trenches, laying bricks, planting, and walking around site, seeing where the edge of the property was. We spent time in the buildings doing the electrics and really just working alongside the Africans and doing bits and pieces like that, which was great fun, and everyone seemed to accept us, and even some people in our group got accused of working like Africans. That wasn't me. I wasn't that sweaty. So one afternoon we went to an old people's home, dragged them all out, gave them some food. Apparently they don't normally eat meat, so because we were there they got to eat meat, so they were all pleased to see us, and we had a sing-song. It was nice that actually most people do speak English, so although not good English or English as we'd know it, it was enough to communicate with everyone, so you could have sensible conversations and just actually cheer their day up. Another day we went to a polio home. This is a group of ladies that have been kicked out of their families because they've got polio. We spent the afternoon there painting their rooms, fixing the floor, because they're mostly in wheelchairs and their concrete floors were giving up, and fixing some electrics. And in return they made clothes for some of the people, which I don't think anyone's wearing tonight, but some people brought clothes back with them. Spent another day going to a school, taking lessons. That was fun for some of us. I think we had 3 or 4 teachers with us, but there were an awful lot that weren't teachers, and we were just exposed to small classes of 70 or 80 kids. So that was that was different. What else have we got? Here we are. This is one of my favourite places. This is the slum. And I told this in church on Sunday, but this group at the bottom, they're the football team from the slum. And we took football shirts for them. And I've never seen grown men so like children on Christmas Day. They were over it. You know, they just loved it. And we had to apologise, it was Manchester United, but they seemed quite happy with that. But we should have taken Arsenal, really. And then we have a contrast. So you go from somewhere like the slum, and you can then go and sit in a restaurant looking out over the sea, having a meal, and you wouldn't really know that you weren't somewhere in some posh part of Europe or America. And, you know, that's 2 or 3 miles, maybe less, from where the slum was. And that really hit, that, you know, you did have those contrasts. In summary, observations. So just some of the things that I noticed while we were there. Cross-cultural communication can be really fun. People, when you're talking to them and you're trying to work with them and do stuff like that, they just want to please, they just want to say yes. And I find that at work, working with French and Germans, it's the same sort of thing. And just one little story. I think it was the last day we were there. One of the guys, one of the Sierra Leones, was asked if it was diesel in a container sitting next to the generator, and he said yes. So one of the team picked it up and poured it into the diesel tank on the generator, but it wasn't diesel; it was water. Communication is key. Understanding is key. Expectations, another thing. So I went with great expectation of what we could actually achieve and how much we could do, and I'd got my mindset of what we could do, and it just had to be adjusted, because things don't always happen quite as you expect them. The pace is different, or there's other challenges get in the way, and you end up having to adjust your expectation, and along with that, patience, because things can just take a long time, and you just have to accept and get into the way and just get on with it at the pace that it's willing to go. And then levels of poverty. It really did strike me that when we first got there, we hadn't been to the slum, but we'd just been driving through some of the towns, and you get used to the towns where they're little tin houses. There didn't appear to be many brick houses around, not very much electricity. And then you go to the slum and you realise that it's not a lot different, but actually there is a different level of poverty. So almost on the face of it, it didn't look too different, but there was a different poverty level there. And then you see us. And it really sort of came home to me when it's really difficult to know if you want to say thank you for something, or if somebody says, how much is this worth? How much is it worth? So to put that in context, a day's wage out there for a lot of these unskilled people is £1.80. A beer costs you about £1.20. So if you're used to having a beer at the hotel, that's like almost taking a day's wage for one of the guys there. And that's all happening in the same country. And that's the sort of the challenge of being there, that if you want to say thank you for something, do you give them a beer? That's like a day's wage. Yeah, it's crazy. So they were some of the things that struck me coming back. Who wants to follow that?